lack of official LGBTQ plus guidance could lead to legal troubles for Pennsylvania schools. Most school systems in Pennsylvania lack official guidelines on the education of gay, lesbian, transgender, and non-binary students, and the state's reporting system is not being used, records show. Without policies, districts and communities are increasingly clashing across the state as schools weigh the needs of students and parents and the rights of both groups. Policies can address everything from notification of the requested name and pronoun changes to accommodations and without them, advocates say they're risking the safety of young adults and exposing districts to federal discrimination lawsuits. In Bucks County, only 3 districts, Bristol, Pennsbury, and New Hope-Solebury, have policies related to gender-expansive and transgender children and teens. Currently, there are no laws in the state governing public schools for policy for transgender students. There are, however, proposed pieces of legislation that could impact all districts if passed. One of the most prominent bills is the GOP-led HB 2813, referred to as the Parental Rights in Student Health Care Act. Introduced in September and led by Representative Stephanie Borowitz and 18 other Republicans. The bill would implement changes for the 2023-24 school year. It seeks to amend school policies to prevent teaching sexual or gender identity to students from kindergarten through 5th grade. So there's a lot going on here, right? Obviously, we recognize this law as being a direct play from Governor DeSantis' law that passed. And my home state of Pennsylvania, oh, what are you doing up there, guys? The thing with Pennsylvania and its demographics, as I'm sure lots of people know, is we've got kind of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and then we've got a bunch of red in the middle. And that level of representation at the state level is how the Republicans are going to get this stuff passed if Democrats or if progressives don't stand up and, get there first to make these proposals first.
Is Pennsylvania historically Republican or Democrat?
Oh, it definitely depends.
Yeah.
So it's purple.
It's very purple.
Yeah.
And then there's one of the most right-wing extremists running for governor in the country in Pennsylvania, and then we have Dr. Oz running for Senate,
Right.
and the things that are happening in Pennsylvania, which has it has a lot of deep history of Democratic roots, of course. Has been a state that has elected statewide senators, elected statewide governors who are Democrats. These movements in Pennsylvania are trying to pull it way to the right, and it is more of I would say a very central-leaning, has been a central-leaning state, which is why they've, again, through the primary process, have elected very right-wing, which is good for us. Let's hope that they are too extreme for the voters of Pennsylvania.
Well, and one of the reasons why school districts may not have this policy is because their school districts are run by elected officials. So it's up to each individual district to elect their board. Bucks County happens to be a fairly left-leaning county, which is why those school districts are probably the ones that have policies, whereas the rest of the state, they won't even take it up because we don't exist according to the Republican Party.
Yeah.
As a 30-year teacher now, a classroom teacher, I have never once instructed on being gay or on gender. I am a GSA sponsor, a safe space liaison. I've worked on every level, and never has this indoctrination been called to question. So I take offense for myself and for all other educators like me. They're trying to vilify us because it makes it easier to erase us, control us.
Yeah.
But we're not having it.
But it's also about power. I mean, we all know there's been a very broad sweep of Republicans voting Republicans just to get the base. We want to win. We have Herschel Walker, who's going to be nothing in the scheme of things, but we win the Senate. We win the numbers.
But this is what I wonder. Parental rights. Mm-hmm. Surely there are parents who are up in arms who want to protect their trans children, who want to protect anybody's trans child. where are their rights being protected in these laws? Why are we assuming that parental rights mean
all parents
right?
mean that.
Exactly. So
Right.
I think that they've done a great job at this public relations of parental rights, but really it's parental rights for a certain minority. And I'm waiting for that chorus of parents who are not on board to raise their voices, because really they've been a little too silent for my liking.
Right. If I could piggyback off of what you said, that was because it's exactly that. It's painfully frustrating the way they try to fearmonger people. Mm-hmm. Because in all of my years in school, I have never once been sat down and talked about sexuality. I never was taught, no one taught me to be straight either. It was not, oh, here's what the sex you have to have. No, it wasn't that. It never was to begin with. And no one's ever saying we're going to sit down children, at all, children K through 5, and explain all of these things. It's the simplest things ever. It's the tiny things that matter too. It's just teaching them and instilling them that we don't hate these people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we have story time, not clearing time.
Exactly. So you're just sitting them down. Hey, this person might have 2 moms instead of a mom and a dad, and that's fine. That's
and most
all
of the time
it
the
is.
kids will go okay and walk away.
It's the sweetest thing ever. I've had incidents like that, or incidents like situations.
Caridad, I have a question. Being a longtime teacher, my mom is a retired teacher, so I'm going to ask you this. You know, with the laws that are coming down, you do not teach these things that they're trying to outlaw, but
Don't learn them.
you are a resource for children and for students who need a person and a safe space to talk to. And under the guidelines of Don't Say Gay and some of these things that are coming through the state, you could lose your job over this.
But you know what's interesting and actually quite tragic? The kids aren't coming to talk to anybody.
No.
They've gone silent because they're also trying to protect us.
Wow.
And they know, but you know, how should I say this? We know what we know, and we do what we got to do. And there are ways to follow the law and still be advocates for the students who need them.
And do co-workers or co-teachers or whatever, do your teaching friends at your schools, do you silently discuss this, or do you?
Oh, we all discuss that. If we're friends, those people on staff who would not want to discuss it would not be considered a friend. So,
but I'm just saying you've come up with your own manners of which to talk around it.
Listen, we weren't ever doing it.
That's what they were doing before.
So if a student comes to talk to me, I'm protected in that I am the safe space liaison, and I work directly with Safe Schools, and I have a little bit of leeway in what I can talk about, and I know when to make the jump to the counselor, the trust counselor. So I'm able to navigate that in a fairly easy way. But that's something that's easy for me. I've been teaching rhetoric for 30 years, so I know how to use language in a way that is both effective and that protects me. But not everyone is versed in that way, so it silences them, and it's silencing the kids.
Well, no, what my point was, you have a network of teachers that you're all on the same level with your, like you said, we know how to navigate the situation to help.
They know whether they do or not, or whether they have the courage or not to do so. And everybody's situation is different. I can't, when they come after your job, after your livelihood, it is the scariest thing possible. So I can't really judge a beginning teacher who may be queer, but has gone quiet because she's, living in one of the most expensive cities in the country, and she can't really afford to lose her job. I do know there's a lot of fear. I do know there's a lot of silence. And I do know that my kids were a lot more eager to come hang out with me at lunch a few years ago than they are now.
Well, thank you for what you do.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Lara are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.